Welcome to the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Thursday, June 8th. This is Gina McGuire. Over the next several days, we will continue to have strong winds and low relative humidity move across the Great Basin, where many of these areas shaded in brown will see wind gusts above 35 or 45 miles per hour, with relative humidity below 15%. Especially on Thursday across Nevada, and then as we move into later in the week and this weekend, the lowest relative humidity shifts east. However, still, even areas back further west across Nevada, we will continue to see the strong winds and relative humidity between 10 and 20%. We will see temperatures continue to cool through this weekend, along with wetter conditions, especially over the northern third of the Great Basin. However, we will see that overall cooling trend in all areas. Over the last 24 hours, we've seen generally light showers and thunderstorms over parts of central and eastern Idaho into the far east side of the Great Basin. Fire activity has generally been light, but we continue to see large fires emerge across the Great Basin, especially in grassy areas. Over the last week to 4 weeks, you can see where the precipitation has been focused. Over the last 7 days, over the northern and eastern side of the Great Basin, and even over the last month, any areas that saw near to above normal precipitation was over the far south or eastern side of the Great Basin, with the rest of the area seeing well below normal precipitation. Overall, ERCs show the highest ERCs over the southern portion of the area, where ERCs are above the 70th or 80th percentile. However, even in areas further north in the green, ERCs have been going up, and grasses are curing in these areas, which has been really the driving force of fire spread early this season. The 10-hour fuel moisture seems to paint a better picture across the west as far as where that risk of fire spread is in relation to the fine fuels. Areas in red or the deep red show very low fuel moistures, so again, this is the area where the grasses are in a curing state or have already cured, and where fire spread will be most problematic with the windy conditions. Live fuel moisture show that sagebrush has reached its peak across most of the area and is on the decline, but is still near normal for the time of year. The satellite loop from this morning shows this deep trough of low pressure off the west coast, which will continue moving east and south across the Great Basin over the next several days. It is generating quite a bit of cloud cover over parts of Nevada, and also the winds have already been increasing, which will continue over the next few days and spread eastward. As this low approaches and moves across northern areas, we will see continued clouds, much colder temperatures, and increasing moisture. Now looking at the weather pattern and fire potential for today, you can see the trough of low pressure with moisture over parts of central Idaho, however drier conditions and windy conditions further south. You can see the image on the right showing where we're expecting these windy and dry conditions, also combined with curing grasses. So we have a pretty large area of strong and gusty winds today with dry conditions. Looking at the weather components, you can see the relative humidity is the lowest over the southern half of the area, with single digit to low teen RH this afternoon, along with strong winds in the image on the right. The areas in red and purple indicate gusts above 40 or 45 miles per hour. Therefore, the strongest winds will be over central areas of the Great Basin, but also along the Sierra Front, despite slightly increased humidity in that area. On Friday, the trough slides a little bit further south, again with those gusty winds continuing and some moisture in the northern areas. Therefore, we will see fire potential start to decrease across parts of Idaho by Friday, but still remain elevated due to the winds and dry conditions over mainly Utah into southern and eastern Nevada. Relative humidity will be on the increase over northern and western areas, but still remain below 15 or 10% over much of the eastern and southern side of Utah into the Arizona Strip and southern Nevada, again accompanied by those very strong winds, where wind gusts will exceed 45 and maybe even 50 miles per hour in some areas. Therefore, we will continue that increased fire potential trend over the eastern and southern areas. By Saturday, we start to see that low move into western Oregon, with much cooler temperatures in northern and western areas, but still dry and windy conditions over southern and eastern Utah as we move into Saturday. Relative humidity will remain in the single digits in those areas, but remain above 15% over much of Idaho into northern and western Nevada. Again, stronger winds will continue on Saturday over much of the southern half of the Great Basin, despite some increases in RH over the far western side. The overall forecast amount of precipitation over the next 3 days is indicated here with, again, the best chances of wetting rains over the central Idaho mountains and even over parts of the southeast portion of the state, along with the Sierra, however much lighter amounts as you move into Nevada and into southern Idaho. As we move into Sunday, the trough of low pressure moves into northern and western sides of the Great Basin, with cooling temperatures and moisture mainly in the far north. You can see how fire potential responds with decreasing fire potential in the north and west, but still low to moderate fire potential over southern areas as we stay dry and windy. On Monday, that trough swings across Idaho, bringing much cooler and wetter weather to the northern third of the Great Basin. However, we still continue to see that very dry signature over southern areas, keeping fire potential low to moderate. As we move into Tuesday, the low pressure swings well to the northeast, with now warmer and drier conditions starting to move into most areas. And by Wednesday, we do see dry and warmer conditions area-wide, and we start to see fire potential creep back into the moderate category over parts of western and northern areas of Nevada. The overall forecast amount of precipitation over the next 7 days, which is largely attributed to that low moving in this weekend, shows the best chances for wetting rains over much of Idaho into far northern Nevada and the Sierra, with even some showers further south into northern Utah. If we look a little bit further into June, we see that return of warm and dry conditions to many areas. That concludes our briefing for today. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us. Thank you for listening.